2022. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you once again to this session. This is the fourth session of Knowledge Hub MIHAS 2022. We had 3 sessions this morning. So one of the important components aim to educate the Malaysian companies on the importance and opportunities available in the export markets. My name is Siti Azlina and I'm your host for session 4 Knowledge Hub today. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very, very fortunate because we have a line of speakers that are being brought from Malaysia, our own players, and also our distinguished guest who flew in all the way from India to share his insight today with us. And let me not forgotten also to welcome our viewers through our live stream platform. I was told that there is a few hundreds already in, and eager and excited as much as I am to hear insights from our distinguished guests. Well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me first invite all our panelists onto the stage. Please welcome Datin Lorela Chia, Mr. Prince Chatterjee, and Madam Lee Pang. Let me first introduce our moderator for this session, Datin Lorela Chia. She is the National Chairman of Small and Medium Enterprise Association, or known as SAMENTA in short. And among Datin is an entrepreneur with diverse expertise spanning from entrepreneurship, SME development, strategic planning, international trade, to IR 4.0, digitalization and IP commercialization, among others. She is known for her leadership at SAMENTA, starring various initiatives with government bodies to help enhancing SMEs' productivity, expand capacity, undertake transformation, and embrace digitalization. Well, our first speaker is Mr. Prince Chatterjee, who flown all the way from India. He is the Vice President of RRL India, the retail arm of Reliance Industries. Mr. Chatterjee has vast experience in retail industries, where he involved heavily in global sourcing, cross-border trade, international negotiations, offshore manufacturing, and imports. Joining us too as speaker today is Madam Lee Pang. She is the Executive Director of Bodibasixs Manufacturing Sdn Bhd. Madam Lee is very instrumental in setting up a cost-effective contract manufacturing of personal care products within the company. She carries more than 30 years experience in the industry and is the chairperson for Federation of Malaysia Manufacturers Cosmetic and Toiletries Industry Group. Well, let me now pass the floor to Datin Lorela Chia to kickstart the session. Datin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Everyone can hear me? Okay. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. This session is Meet the Experts India. I'd like to thank Moderator for the opportunity to be part of this conversation. A little bit of ground rules, before we start. As moderator, I'll guide us through the session. We only have 1 hour, so I hope the lunch is sitting well and no one is going to fall asleep. We are going to break this in a few things. First, we'll start with something to set some background context. Then we'll hear from the panelists about their overall opinions. But the bulk of the session will come from you, ladies and gentlemen, when we ask questions, open mic Q&A. Okay? So let's get to it. According to the India Brand Equity Foundation, India is the 5th largest and preferred retail destination globally. India's organized retail market is one of the fastest growing in the world, and Indian e-commerce market is predicted to reach 74.8 billion US dollars this year. To many people, India is exciting and exotic, but at the same time, it's also scary and a little bit mystical. So, Mr. Chatterjee, let's start with you. Could you demystify things a little bit for us? Tell us about the India retail opportunity.
Okay, so firstly, good afternoon to all of you, and I'm wishing and hoping that none of us fall asleep. My initial plan was actually to take you through a short bit of presentation, but I thought that might put all of us into sleep, or many of us into sleep, including myself. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I just would like to thank all of you this afternoon. Before I start unveiling the demystification request from your side, I'd also like to thank everyone from Moderator, because I thought this is an amazing platform for all of us to get together, interact. And the reason why I cut that short joke on the PPT or the presentation was that I think let our discussion this afternoon be more interactive as opposed to just showing some monologue, because we all get to really know a lot of insights and data from the internet also. So let me take the advantage of me being present here, and since I have kind of lived and I've seen the retail landscape change in India, it would be very interesting for me to share some insights and take your questions also when we get into that. So if I have to really talk about the demystification part of the question that you have posed, clearly, no doubt, India is one of the very, very large consuming markets in the world. Estimated, we are round about, somewhere about 2.8 to 3 trillion economy. Our aspiration as a country is that we get into a 5 trillion economy and beyond, which would technically mean that right now, if we would be the 5th largest economy in the world, we strive to get into, let's say, the 4th or the 3rd place, and that's how we are, as an economy, trying to position ourselves. Now, coupled with that, I think, let me again share some insights on the opportunity part of it. So we all know, and this is now public data, that we are the most populous country in the world. But apart from that, the other interesting facet is that India has one of the youngest populations. So the, almost about estimated, pardon me if my numbers are a little haywire, but estimated almost about more than 50% of our population would be below 30 years of age. Now, what does that mean to manufacturers and brands? It means that you have an opportunity of another 30 years in front of you, because the active consumption continues till about 60, 65 years. Now, if the average population of a country is aged below 30, so you can very easily calculate that you have a market of another 30 years or more in front of you. Now, that's an amazing facet to consider when you do a market entry. So you see the long-term potential of the market entry and try and find out what would be my consumption runway, if I have to call it that way. So therefore, very interesting market in terms of the size of the population. Even if you get a 1%, 2%, 3% share, it's a huge value and volume. Secondly, a very young population, so you know that if you're able to establish your brand today, you can have a runway of 25, 30, 40 years, and that's a very long way of a runway. But having said that, every opportunity comes with their own challenges. So the challenges are also very, very tricky. So you need to really know the landscape. For instance, if I have to talk about the specific importation or exportation from your side to India, specific to beauty, personal care, color cosmetics. So there is a registration process. Often the registration process is very long. The market is huge. You will find challenges of logistics. You will find challenges of supply chain. You will find challenges of sometimes even finding the right business partner, because that's very important. The the geographies are very different, so we have multiple states, more than 30 states, say. The unique thing is that India is a conglomeration of so many states, means, you know, every state has a lot of degree of uniqueness. So you need to really understand that while India is one, but every state might have quite a degree of diversity, which is something that you got to study. So what it means for you is that something which is a super success in one state may not essentially be a super success in the next state, because their consumption pattern could be quite different. So those would be the challenges, and I thought the best way of dealing with these challenges is that if you have a great local partner who understands the market very well, so that would be, in a sense, a great way of starting in that country.
Thank you. I think that was quite interesting. What I picked up was that the average consumer is younger than we thought. And because of the geographic diversity, so different parts of India require different things. So a local partner is most important.
Absolutely. So I think the local knowledge and deeper local knowledge is extremely important.
Right, right. We'll come back to that a little bit. But Madam Lee, so could you tell us a little bit about Bodibasixs? You are a big exporter for, I think, close to 30 years. Why did you choose India as a destination, and how was your journey into India?
Before I go into how I venture into India market, maybe I would just like to show a video about Bodibasixs. Can we just play the video first?
Yeah.
Introduction of Bodibasixs.
Established in Malaysia. In 1995, Bodibasixs Manufacturing is a R&D-focused ODM and OEM manufacturer in the personal care and beauty industry. Innovative research and development, quality service, efficiency and effectiveness are key to keeping us ahead of today's competition. R&D focused. Quality, consistency, and cost effectiveness are our business fundamentals towards achieving customer satisfaction for both parties' business growth. We combine our formulation expertise and manufacturing best practices to develop and deliver innovative, world-class quality personal care and beauty products. Achieving our business partners' market growth is always our top priority. Bodibasixs Manufacturing has evolved to be a leading contract manufacturer of personal care and beauty products servicing both international and local brands. Currently, we have 4 manufacturing plants, 3 in Klang Valley and 1 in Penang.
Bodibasixs is a full-service contract manufacturer of toiletries and personal care products, servicing a wide range of customers including multinational companies, hypermarkets, and pharmacy chains, as well as large brand owners. Our products are exported to over 30 countries worldwide, including China, Russia, and the Middle East.
We implement both quality management system and good manufacturing practice. We are certified with ISO 9001, ISO 22716 Cosmetics GMP, and our plants are granted halal status by both JACM and MUI. For every milestone achieved, better growth and greater value had been generated.
In Bodibasixs, we are passionate in our pursuit of continuous operation improvement as it brings about profitable value creation to the product and services we offer. This value creation can be in the form of higher production efficiency, lower cost of goods, or a more robust and sustainable material use. And all these added values will translate to a higher marketability of our customer goods.
We are a one-stop center that customizes solutions for each brand's unique needs, from product concept, formulation development, raw material and packaging sourcing to finished goods manufacturing. Usage of natural ingredients and eco-friendly packaging are part of our product development practices.
We have a dedicated team of competent and resourceful chemists, passionate and committed in our R&D pursuit. Coupled with our well-equipped laboratory, we are able to formulate comprehensive range of products for our customers. This has enabled us to continuously assist our customers to develop trend-setting, efficacious, cost-effective, and robust formulations.
In today's competitive and challenging marketplace, it is vital to be a reliable and efficient business partner to our customers.
The market of personal care products continues to grow, catering to the changing preference and lifestyle for consumers. In order to keep up with the trends, we are constantly innovating new products to help the brands and products succeed.
That is the reason why our key business partners continue to work with us. Bodibasixs, the preferred partner in personal care and beauty product manufacturing.
Okay, so that is basically what Bodibasixs is doing. We are an OEM manufacturer of personal care products, and as you can see, we actually export to more than 30 countries in the world. So India is also one of our exporting countries. We started actually export in 2017, and the business actually has grown over the years, every year on year. And the question I think Datin asked me is, why do I choose India? Actually, India is a very big market. You know, the population is 1.4 billion now. And now that I just heard from Mr. Chatterjee, that actually is a very young population as well. So the opportunity is very big. So in our case, I think in any businesses, whether we are personal care or any other businesses as well, I think first thing, the most difficult challenge is getting customers. And in our case, actually we had a very good support from Moderator. We actually joined trade missions to India, and I personally, together with my team, actually went to Moderator Mumbai. And then they organized, even just for our company, organized buyers to come to the Moderator office for us to meet up with them. So this is the opportunity for anyone who wants to do export. I think Moderator is the center that you can reach out to them. And I think they have offices, if Moderator people can certify, they have offices all over the world. So every part of the country, I think if you want to export, there is an opportunity. So in our case, I think the starting point, I think, as I say, getting customer is the first challenge. Once we got it, I think the development part is also take some time. But after that, once everything is approved, then the first export started. But just before export in India, all the cosmetic product needs to be registered. I think Mr. Chatterjee, that is correct. Yeah? So we have to register the product before they can import. So that also take, I think, quite some time. But once it's registered, registration is approved, it will last for 5 years. 5 years. So that then only you need to renew. And I think Malaysia, or not just Malaysia, ASEAN, we have what do you call it, ASEAN-India Free Trade Agreement. Yeah. So that also support us to export. Because when Indian importers, once they import, with the AI form, actually is exempted, tax exempted. I'm not very sure, Mr. Chatterjee, is it zero tax or only up to?
I would not be able to precisely say, there would be elements of some degree of taxes maybe, but I'm not very equipped on that. But the good news is that either there is zero tax or a very significant amount of tax
I think
saving.
So for any exporter who wants to venture into India, just apply through MITI. You submit the cost analysis once it's approved, and every shipment that you ship, you just submit your BL, K2, packing list and invoice, then you can get the AI form, and when you submit to the importer, actually they can get either zero tax or very low tax. So this is one of the things that actually help us as well. So this is what I have started, and I think now hopefully we can get more Indian customers also through Moderator's introduction as well.
Yeah, I think that is a very nice advice about how to be more competitive, how to position your products more competitively in the Indian market. Now, other than that, right, going back to the top a little bit, how does a Malaysian exporter enter the Indian market? Are there any general requirements across the board? Are there any do's and don'ts? Maybe Mr. Chatterjee?
I think, once again, I'd like to highlight that entering the Indian market is not that complicated to begin with. It's reasonably straightforward, but one needs to bear in mind that how do you want to enter the market. So with that I mean either you want to enter solo, you want to set up your own company, or you want to get into a joint venture, or you want to tie up with some local partners. So depending on the choice of the market entry, you'll like to decide on how you want to get into the market. Now let me give you a very preferred way how many of the international companies get into the Indian market. Most of them get into the Indian market holding the hands of a local partner. Mm-hmm. And the reason for holding hands of a local partner is because the local partner is more like your local guide. So he knows, or that company knows the landscape, the regulations, and let's also assume that India is seeing dramatic changes over the past few years, absolute dramatic changes, which means that there are changing rules, changing regulations. So as an outsider, it might become a little more tedious for one to really understand, which a local partner understands very well. So therefore, in a sense, if you have a local partner, he makes your job a lot more easier as opposed to you doing or you trying to do yourself. But both the routes are open. In terms of the challenges, if you have a local partner, then you set up a local joint venture company. If it is a straightforward distribution, you don't even have to do any of that. If you want to set up your own company, then you have to take the help of a local lawyer and some support of, probably some chartered accountants and consultants who could guide you on how to start up your company in India. So that would be reasonably, straightforward like that. But having said that, let me also quickly touch base. How do you sell products? Because why do you want to really establish your company in India? Because you want to sell either your products or services. Now, this is like exactly what Madam Lepang was saying. So in terms of selling your products, you have to have a lengthy or reasonably lengthy, let's say, registration process, and that's a mandatory thing to export into India. Thankfully, again, as Madam Lepang has touched, we have that AFTA or Asian Free Trade Agreement where Malaysia and India are signatories to that. That saves a lot of custom duty, because India is having a lot of custom duty levied on imported goods. Now that's a great news for all of us. So I think that's how you should look at it. So in nutshell, you got to find out you want to get on your own or you have to have a good partner. Depending on what is the route that you want to pursue, your next step is to actually figure out, how do you get your products into the country, which is through the registration, and your partner can take through or you take through. And the third thing, very importantly, which Madam Lepang also said, is once you've got your goods in the country, what do? You got to sell. You got to find out the customer. Now that's another big thing that you've got to find. E-commerce is big, of course, part of that demystification question that we had. So e-commerce is big. Physical retails are absolutely big, and they're growing very fast. So you have all the routes, and now, of course, you go through the conventional distribution. That's another route available to us.
Okay. What about Madam Lee? Any personal experiences and all that to share about the general do's and don'ts about entering the Indian market?
So far, I think we have a very good experience. Especially, I think we have a very good partner. I think the most important thing is, and we have this customer for more than 5 years, and the business is growing. So, but in the beginning, I think, for me, like India, I think language is not the issue. And I think it's very easy for us to discuss, So the only thing is distance. But in the beginning, when we need to maybe arrange samples and all that we have some challenges. Right. But once it's approved ready, and once orders start to produce, so it seems ongoing, fine. I mean, so far, personally, our Bodibasixs, we don't have so much difficulties dealing with Indian customers.
Right.
So far at this moment.
So what I'm hearing, the common thing that I'm hearing from both of you is the importance of the local partner there. And this, I think Matre plays a big role in facilitating and introducing, so the B2B meetings and all that is important. But it also helps that the exporter actually knows what you want, right? You got to know what you want. You got to know what kind of target segment you're looking into. And of course, the retailer, the importer would know what works in the stores. Now, let's talk a little bit about a mega trend that's going on right now. Everyone talks about digitalization and digital transformation these days, right? So how has digitalization changed in-store shopping experience in India? Of course, coupled with the fact that, you know, the average consumer is younger and more susceptible to digitalization, right? And how does this affect exports into India for the retail market?
Okay, so I think if that question is for me, then I'll shoot. I think I'll not like to limit it only within the confines of the retail stores, but let me expand the version for all of us to see the bigger picture. We need to understand and appreciate one fact that India has probably one of the largest mobile phone penetration. So almost virtually everyone is on a smartphone, which means that price discovery and product discovery has become far too easier today as it was 10 years back. Now, you be on your desktop, you be on your laptop, you be on your smartphone, but product discovery and price discovery is extremely easy. That's one. I did also mention to you that we have one of the youngest population in the world, which means that I see virtually everyone hooked onto their mobile phones more than their parents and more than, I have two young girls, they speak to me less and they speak to their mobile phones far too often. So with that example, I think you, and it's a phenomena probably happening across Southeast Asia. So with that, I think the essence is that reaching your product information to a larger audience is far too easier today, far more high on speed today, and far economical today compared to what it was happening before. Now, if with that, I mean, quite honestly speaking, I would hardly read a physical newspaper these days, and I would hardly see many advertisement in physical newspaper these days. But I see tons of advertisements, product advertisements, service advertisements on the social commerce and on the YouTube and so on and so forth. So, which means you have a fantastic opportunity to leverage this. And in particular to the India context, you can reach millions of customers almost instantly, almost at a fraction of a cost than the conventional methods. So that's for us to look into. Now, what is the outcome of that? Even if with millions of customers seeing your product and looking into your website, if the conversions are irrespective of how small they are, it translates into big numbers. Now, you want to route the customer through an internet gateway or you want to route the customer through a physical store is up to you, because that's channel of distribution to me. But putting the channel on one side, if you want to reach customers, so my connotation of that question would be that digitalization brings you and your products far too closer to the customer and far more instant. Now, where you want to capitalize on that goods or service selling, is it within the confines of the store or is it D2C or direct to consumer, is your choice.
Madam Lee, did you notice any difference pre-digitalization and post?
As far as I know, because my customer in India, they also sell their products online.
Right.
And it's very strong as well. So maybe that could be the recent trend. That's why the order has also increased. Especially, I think, during pandemics, like Malaysia, a lot of them actually buy online. I'm sure India also the same, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So I think that is also, I can see that when I visit, so I can see the online business, the brand that we produce is very strong as well. So it's on e-commerce.
Right. So that brings us nicely to the next part I wanted to ask. So the Boston Consulting Group, right, has recently reported that the number of digitally influenced shoppers in India, that's one of the highest in the world, has grown so rapidly that the online retail spending in India is expected to grow almost up to, sixfold to $300 billion by 2030. So what does this mean for the Malaysian exporters in terms of opportunity?
Question for me or?
You
okay,
first.
Okay. So I think, look, it's a very simple connotation of what these reports are saying, and we continue to see a lot of such reports coming through. Numbers might vary, the company or the consulting company might vary, but the direction looks to be the same. So what it essentially means for Malaysian manufacturers is that you have an access to a very large consuming population, period. Very simple words. And let me also give you one more endorsement. And this one is more from the perspective of I am a consumer myself. So I'm giving you a connotation from a consumer's mindset, not as a company representative, let's say. The consumer mindset is Malaysian products are good. Absolutely. So we respect Malaysian products. We have deep connotation and appreciation of quality of Malaysian products. And then therefore there is no hesitation for us to buy a Malaysian product. So what it means is that you are actually on a high tide where you have a lot of customers and you have a lot of good reputation to build onto. Now, without naming, as an Indian consumer, I'm skeptic about certain goods coming from certain places. I'll probably not like to, so I'll not take names, but probably not like to touch a certain product. But I'm absolutely perfect to buy a Malaysian product. And I know, I trust that product. Maybe I have not visited Malaysia, but I still feel Malaysia makes great products. So that's a lot of positive connotation in support of Malaysian exporters. So if I have to combine two, you have a lot of Indian consumers already waiting for credible products. Combined with that is the advantage that you don't have a heavy load of taxation, which makes your product competitive, price competitive. And the third thing is the Indians love Malaysian products. So, Olive go.
Very good.
So it's good to know that when you're ready to go to India, Indians love us.
Absolutely.
So, Madam Lee,
yes.
my question to you is that now that we see that e-commerce is actually, gaining so much attraction in India, would you focus more on e-commerce or brick and mortar retail stores?
Okay, in our case, because actually we do not own any brands, so we are a Bodibasixs. Just now you can see from the video, we are actually an OEM manufacturer. So the products that we produce are actually our customers' brand. So on the marketing side, actually it all very dependent on how the brand owners, either they want to do it online or they want to do it on brick and mortar. But in our case, our existing customer, they have their own retail outlets.
Right.
But they are also selling online as well. But I think just now hearing from what Mr. Chatterjee said, I think it's a very happy for me that the Indians, they love Malaysian products. So I think for all, not just personal care, I think in our case, both of us are talking about personal care products. I know that we are very good. We are very good in producing personal care products. Malaysia, we export the biggest export is actually, one of the biggest exporter is palm oil.
Yep.
Yes.
It's palm oil. And then all these, our shampoo, shower gel, hand wash, one of the key ingredient actually is also palm-based product. So instead of exporting raw material, we can actually export finished goods. We can export finished goods using our own palm oil products, palm-based products. And I think just now you mentioned about the e-commerce, I think I feel very excited. That means, can we list our products from Malaysia instead of, it's a question for you, sorry. Can we list our products from here instead of selling into India?
Okay, so the answer is I'll probably take this answer in two parts. So I'll probably add to what was your question to Madam Lee Pang. I'll give my views and then answer how can you sell it on e-commerce platforms. See, once again, the priority of any brand, if I am you, the priority of any brand to select a channel would be basis a lot of consideration and what you want to do with your brand and how do you want to reach the consumers. That's plain and simple to me. Now, I want to choose an e-commerce platform first, or I want to choose let's say, a brick-and-mortar retail, or I want to choose a traditional way of distribution is a matter of choice. Essentially, what I would look into is that if my product is very new and it needs to be felt by the consumer, how likely am I to sell it on an e-commerce? First question, because if I have to take some intuitive examples, and these are just an example for understanding. If I'm launching my brand of perfumes for the first time in any other country, is an e-commerce site a great place, or is it a physical retail which is a great place? Because intuitively I would feel that as a consumer, one would like to first see the fragrance, smell the fragrance before buying the fragrance. So therefore, it's a connotation of what channel you want to move forward. If I'm making notebooks, paper notebooks and pens, maybe a different channel is completely fine. So that's depending on the kind of product that you sell. So therefore, that would be my view on the first part of the question. The second part of the question is how do you list into the Indian e-commerce? So let's understand that there are government regulations that one has to really comply with, and any importer into India or any direct exporter or international company is not always allowed to sell on all the marketplace platforms or all the e-commerce platforms. So that is something that you have to find out a local consultant who can guide you on that particular piece. So because if you are an international manufacturer, you're based out of Malaysia, is it possible for you to go and directly sell it to an e-commerce entity in India? The answer could be no. Find it out from a consultant in India who can guide you on this. But how generally this happens is that you find again a local partner. So you sell to this local partner, and the local partner in turn sells to the e-commerce platform. So that's the model most prevalent and most used. But in terms of the regulation, you need to be updated and you need to find out, and these are worth the effort that you get into a new country, you understand, you deploy one consultant who should be able to guide you on that.
Right. So it still comes back to understanding your product and what you want out of your product in
Yes.
that market. Right. So let's talk about the other buzzword these days, sustainability. I know it's a big area, it's scary. But today let's focus on business sustainability. Let's talk about how Malaysian exporters can get into the Indian retail market and grow sustainably. Maybe Madam
okay.
Lee?
I think to me, personally, I feel to sustain the business for us is to consistently supply the finished product, supply the goods with the consistent and good quality. And if you can continue, I mean, if you don't give them problem, and then the product you can supply on time and with good quality, I think the business will be able to continue. And having a good partner is also very important.
Right. So supply chain, logistics, right, marketing.
Actually, in our case, the logistic will be, actually for us, is actually just from here to India.
Right.
And then the retail part is actually
Yes.
handled by the brand owners. But for us, I'm saying that our business sustainability is to make sure that we supply goods of good quality, consistent quality, don't give them problem,
Right,
and then
right.
don't delay. And I think the business should be able to continue, to sustain.
Right. What about you, Mr. Chatterjee?
I think I must admit this is a googly question. It's a very difficult question to
Yes.
field. Sustainability is such a complex area. I would say rather it's a very wide area. I don't know where to begin and where to end, but let me give it an attempt. And please don't blame me if my answers go wrong with your answers in mind. See, if we are talking about sustainable products, which is many of the very well-developed markets are actually looking at, it's a great position to take, and you could be one of the most foremost to be calling out that we are a sustainable brand, we have a sustainable packaging, etc., etc. Will all customers really give you that credibility, particularly in a country like India? I don't know the answer. Probably you'd get mixed reactions. Some will care about sustainability, some may not care about sustainability. But my intuitive view on that position is it is always a great thing to have sustainability overall, as you know, sustainable product packaging, etc. Because the world is moving towards that direction, and at some stage we will also get into that position where we should be able to remember your brand. Oh, they started this phenomena. That could be one way of looking at it. But now let me narrow the spectrum by saying sustainability. If I talk about sustainability and use another word for it, which is consistency, how can you consistently supply? How can you manage your business consistently in India? I think the way to look at it is that you need to be mindful of the fact that there is huge competition. So everyone is competing with the other. So that's something that you got to be mindful. What does it simply mean? People or brands will compete each other on pricing strategy, on product quality, on supply chain, on quick deliveries, etc. Now, everything boils down to only one thing: consumer satisfaction. So if you're very consumer focused, you'll continue to be sustainable or you will continue to be consistent. If you fail to respond to the changes which is happening in a very dynamic market, your chances of success is very, very limited. So therefore, in order to draw that sustainability or consistency of business growth, of continuous supplies, you need to be very consumer focused. You need to understand the consumers of that particular country, and in our case, it's India. You need to understand the Indian consumer pulse very well. The faster that you understand that, the faster and the better that you grow and sustainably.
Thank you. That's actually very interesting, because some people have likened the philosophy of sustainability or even ESG to a kind of social license, right? Where the consumers feel that this brand and the products are worthy of their support, right? And given that, thank you, Indian consumers like Malaysian products, we are already ahead, in terms of social license. So how we do things with consistency and sustainably, so that, I think, is the social license we need that really, really gives us that competitive edge. It's not really always about the price.
Great.
Right. So right now we've come to the segment where we take questions from the floor. So ladies and gentlemen, do you have any questions for our panelists? We want to address as many as we can. Anyone from the floor?
Good afternoon. Now, it's glad to hear that the brand acceptance of our Malaysian products is there in India. But how competitive are we in terms of pricing compared to those from other countries where India is importing from?
So, sorry, I missed the first part of your question.
How competitive are we in terms of pricing our Malaysian products in India compared to imports from other countries?
I don't think there will be a single answer to that question, because it will depend from industry to industry or product category to product
maybe you
category.
can give an industry, because you are in the retail trade, So in terms of retail trade, give us an example. What sort of product is it that we are competitive, or what sort of products we are not competitive? So at least we know where we stand.
No, so in order to respond to that, there is not one answer that will fit all, but let me attempt to give you some directional views on how it is. I'd say it is, you cannot paint it with one brush. I've seen many brands being very, very competitive to many other countries who are globally competitive. I've also seen that there are many brands who have actually raised up their hands and say, I can't be more competitive than this, and this is my price. So it depends on the industry, and it also depends on the kind of brands or on the kind of manufacturing partner that you're dealing with. So which category you represent, or which brand or manufacturing house that you represent plays a lot of important role there. But by and large, if I have to say, I think Malaysian companies, intuitively feeling, Malaysian companies, if they really envisage the bigger game, the bigger opportunity, bigger picture of the Indian consumption story, By and large, Malaysian companies have a huge probably potential to be very, very competitive. Sometimes what happens is that negotiations do not get into a very competitive mode merely because of the person, one person cannot communicate to the other person the bigger story. So once you understand the bigger side of the story, I think businesses can be very, very competitive, which may not be true for many other countries, I could tell you very safely. So if, not naming in any country in particular, but if I talk about the competitiveness of, let's say, a Malaysia versus an European country, I think a Malaysian company is far more nimble and far more competitive compared to an European company.
Because you are in the retail trade, in the cost of your procurement, you will say, this product A comes from Malaysia, this product A comes from maybe XYZ country. Then you'll be able to compare, okay, is this Malaysia is more price competitive, or it could be not competitive, but value for money. Can you give us an example in your procurement process and your evaluation that you have done over the period of time? I'm sure you buy a lot of things, right? Not only one single product, you know? Maybe you can give us an example.
Let me once again attempt to do that without any specific example. Let me attempt to give you this. So let's understand that one part of the component is shipping charges or shipping costs. So when we import products from a country where it takes 30 days of sailing time, high seas, between Malaysia and India, the sailing time is less than 10 days. So let's understand that there's a huge substantial saving because you ship your goods which reaches the other country in 30 days, so you pay more versus a country which ships a good and it reaches in 5-7 days. That's one advantage, cost advantage that Malaysian companies can have with exporting to India. The other one, of course, as we have detailed several times this afternoon, is the burden of custom duty. Most of the other countries exporting into India has a very high burden of import duties, which is thankfully not there as a heavy load for Malaysian exports or Malaysian imports to us. So therefore, there is a huge substantial saving. So that should give us enough of confidence, or that should give you enough of confidence on your question that you are naturally at an advantageous position at the very word go to export into India. So you have advantages over many other countries. So that's one. The next part is that how do you price compete despite these advantages? How do you further price compete any other country exporting into India? Now that's very individualistic in my view.
Maybe I can just share my own experience. If as a personal care manufacturer, if we can export to India, maybe we are competitive compared to other countries. That means they are accepting our products, you know. So I use that as an example. So maybe, we in personal care, we can be competitive as compared to other countries. Partly also because I think we have a consistent quality, like what
absolutely.
Mr. Chatterjee has mentioned.
Absolutely.
I think Malaysian products, I think they value it as a high quality product. So it's not just about price, I believe.
Absolutely. So the other part of your question was about value for money. See, it's a very contextual thing. So someone who buys a shower gel and a body wash for, let's say, $25 of even $50, let's say, that customer would be buying, of course, a very premium and a luxury product. But for that customer, a $50 worth of return of satisfaction is value for money. But for an average consumer who is spending, let's say, a $2 worth of product or a $4 worth of product, that consumer would like to have a value back or a satisfaction equivalent to $4. So whatever I spend, I should receive back. And if I get a little more satisfaction, that's delight for me as a customer. So value for money to me is very contextual. I would probably say that there are customers on all these spectrums, from mass, prestige, premium to luxury. So how you create value for money proposition is a different connotation altogether. But the good news here is that you have consumers in all the 4-5 pillars, which is value, mass, prestige, premium, luxury. So if you have a brand commensurate to any structure, you can be very successful and price competitive.
So I see here a question coming in from one of the virtual audience. This is for you, Mr. Chatterjee. What are the key factors that will affect your final purchasing decision besides pricing, and is sourcing for sustainable products part of your agenda?
See, I think that's an excellent question. So the pricing part probably comes a little later. The first starting point is to actually understand capabilities and what is on offer. Let us appreciate the fact that it's true for a retailer, it's true for a business house, it's true for a brand owner, it's true for a manufacturer. We want repeat customers. Now that's the first starting point. And if we need repeat customers, we need to give the customer a value for money, and we need to give the customer great degree of satisfaction through the product or service that we are selling. So we want the consumer to be coming back and buying the same product over and over again, and even going beyond recommending the product to his friends and family members. So how do we do that? It's not only the price equation, but it's what's inside that bottle, what's inside that packet. The quality of the product should speak forward. Now, this is the first starting assessment that we'd like to do. This is the first starting assessment that I would like to do, is to understand what's on offer. Will it sell? How consistent is the quality? Will my customer be satisfied? All that we do is only think about the customer. All that you do is only think about the customer. So once we know that this is going to be a great option for the customer, I think our job is done. The second piece comes as the pricing part of it, or the other sourcing modalities, which is more a subset to the bigger picture. The bigger picture is, where do I fit? The product market fit. Where do I fit my product? Which set of customers do I get into? Consistency of quality. Can I woo the customer by giving, in very simple terms, the way to win the market would be at the same price, you give something which is higher, bigger, better. Or you give the same as others are giving at a price which is lower. Two simple routes to ensure that the customer is with you. But today, quality is a given. If we don't have quality, no one will trust us. We'll sell it only for a few times. Now, everyone is selling quality. I would meet tons of business partners who would only, their first starting position is, here is my product and my quality is better than the others. Everyone would say that. Now, that's a given. And my response is very intuitive. That's a given. If your quality is not good, then you're not in business, I'm not in business. So therefore, in summary, I would say, it's the quality of the product and it's what's in it for me. If you wear the consumer hat, what's in it for me is the most important question to answer. Madam Lee Pang said, selling personal care in India is not that difficult. And it is true for her. But I can also tell you, there are tons of people who find it extremely difficult selling it. You know why? Because they would probably not have consistency of supplies or consistency of quality. So what will ensure that you have a consistent business is a business model that probably she's trying to pursue. Consistent quality, what consumers like. Do you really understand the consumer? Are you able to respond to the changing demands of the consumer? Imagine for personal care, would you really like to use the same vanilla flavor over 10 years of your bathing life? You'd like to change. It's fragrance. There are new things which is happening. When I was growing up, the bar soaps used to be something that I grew up. I never knew that there was a liquid form of product. My daughters don't know there is a bar form of soaps. They don't recognize that. And they say, why are you using a brick-shaped stuff? So we grew up in two different things. So why am I using this example is that changing customer. Are you able to still see that there is a new customer and there is a new demand? If we don't respond, then we are not in business.
That's a good answer, actually. It also ties back to just now what we talked about digitalization, because you need to make decisions based on what customer wants, right? So customer-driven data is key to that. Now, I'm seeing a question for Madam Lee. Was it difficult for you to get distributors in India?
I think just how I mentioned at the beginning, I think the biggest challenge is to get customers. And then that I also, in our case, I think we have help from Matrade. At the same time, we also is through referral. In fact, a lot of, quite a number of customers, even overseas customers, is referral by our own customers. So they refer to us, then from there, that is how we started working with them. But the distributors, I think, it's not easy, but I think we have one here. We have to hold on to him for personal care. I think you also do other things. But if you have any, because we don't go directly, like go and look out for what you call distributors, we actually go through, let's say, I think in Matrade's case, we joined the trade mission, the immersion program, and then from there they will organize a meeting with the distributors. Then from there you can actually work from that point of view. That means you can work with Matrade or any other, if you have any other exhibition, you can participate. Maybe there's an opportunity for you to find distributor as well.
Okay. Question from the floor.
Okay, good evening. I'm Ridwan from the Islamic Chamber of Commerce. Hi, Datin.
Hi.
Okay, I have a question over here. Actually, we have company that already expansion overseas. We are doing more or less like the multi-level marketing concept of business. We are quite successful in Africa. We already done that. We are moving on that. Just want to know about the India. Is it difficult to set up a multi-level marketing there, and then what the procedure like, and also what are the certification requirement needed?
Sir, you need to be a bit louder. Because,
okay.
Yeah.
I just want to know what is the basic requirement if you want to set up a multi-level marketing in India. Is it permissible? What the requirement? Is it difficult to apply for it? Because we do have some problem also in Africa. We couldn't get the certification of sales. So is it the same thing in India?
Sir, is your question pertaining to setting up a company, multi-level marketing company in India?
Yes.
My recommendation would be, I do not have any direct experience of setting up a multi-level marketing company in India. But my recommendation to you would be that you may like to actually get in touch with some local partners in India and try and figure out what are the regulations, or alternatively find out a consultant for yourself and find out how you can set up this. Another great piece of recommendation is, Matrade is a great platform. Madam Lee Pang found her partner for business in India through Matrade. I'm finding a lot of partners of business through Matrade. I think you could use the platform of Matrade to find out, partners who can help you set it up there.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
So we have now come to the end of this conversation. Before we end the session, I'd like to ask our panelists, each one, for a final say. What would be the one message that you'd like the audience to take away from this session? Mr. Chatterjee?
I thought it would be unfair not to.
Okay.
Madam Lee Pang to first respond.
Okay, I think I also learned something new from Mr. Chatterjee. Actually, Malaysian exporters stand a very good chance to export to India, because Indian products is very well sought after by Malaysian products is very well sought after by the Indian retailers or consumers. So take this opportunity and then go for export to India.
Thank you, Madam Lee Pang. So I think I'll have just 2 short recommendations on that front. I hope I'm audible, sometimes going up and down, I'm sorry for that. The 2 recommendations is, please bear in mind that you have a very good local guide or a conduit called Matrade, which can bring you closer to the intended business partner that you're looking in India. It's like your local guide. So I come to Malaysia, and if I have a local friend who can actually suggest how to go and see the different places. So that's how I would probably advise that you should optimally use Matrade as a platform. So your search in India becomes far more easy and less tedious, number 1. Number 2, what Madam Lee Pang said. I think you are at an absolutely superb, advantageous position, both from the commercial side as well as the consumer mindset towards Malaysian products. So please capitalize on this, and it's an amazing opportunity that you can bag on. And in business, we always learn that there's a first mover advantage. If you're not moving fast, someone else is moving in your place. So the choice is up to you. You have lead advantages, a head start over many other countries. Would you like to really capitalize, and how would you like to capitalize? And so that's the two things that I would probably say.
Thank you. So
I think one last point, I just want to share my personal experience. Actually, I love India so much. I think I've told Mr. Chatterjee, I've been to many parts of India. So it's not just about the work, it's also about leisure. So many places of India that I have been. So once it's open, I will go to India again.
Absolutely, and I think, Madam Lipang, I did mention to you, cordially welcome, and I really feel privileged to see most of you setting up your businesses, a very successful business in India. So that would be a fantastic thing to see.
So with that, a big round of applause for our very experienced panelists. Come on, guys. Did you all learn something? Definitely, right? So I've enjoyed this discussion thoroughly, and I hope this was really insightful. Our panelists will be around for a bit, so you can still ask them questions, like Malaysians do. We ambush them at the tea party. But thank you very much. We now end the session, and I hand the floor back to the MC.
Thank you. Thank you, Datin, Mr. Chatterjee, and also Madam Lee Pang. That it was a very interesting and insightful session. Ladies and gentlemen, we would love to hear from you. Please drop us feedback. Please kindly scan the QR code. Provide us feedback, and it is very important for us to improve our future organization of events. Please also stay tuned, as we have another interesting last session on Turkey after this. But before I pass the floor to my colleague Jude Bryant, may I ask all the panelists for a short photo op for the session. Thank you. I would love to join as well. Here. Here. One, yes, please, one. Thank you very much. Yeah, stay tuned. Well, Jude, the floor is yours. Thank you.